This is episode number 61 of DevOps Paradox with Darren Pope and Viktor Farsick. I am Darren.
And I'm Viktor.
And today we have a guest that I get to introduce today. This is the first time I've done that. We're not recording video, but Viktor just sort of raised his hands in joy and glee that he doesn't have to do any work today.
Next 50 episodes is yours.
Oh, gee, thanks. Today we have, I'm just going to say his first name, then I'll let him say his whole name. Today we have Miko. He's the creator of PowerfulSeal. It is a chaos tool. Miko, thanks for joining us today. Go ahead and say your full name. I'm not even going to attempt it.
So my name is Mikołaj Pawlikowski, and that's pretty much why everybody calls me Miko.
And I'm thankful for that today. That's a very good thing. So you're the creator and currently still the primary maintainer of PowerfulSeal.
Yep, that's correct.
Why don't you explain what PowerfulSeal is and does?
So PowerfulSeal is a chaos engineering tool designed for Kubernetes that basically lets you write scenarios which describe what you want to do to your cluster and then how to verify that what you think is going to happen is actually going to happen to it. It's a small little tool that's been open source for a few years now. And I have a pleasure of maintaining that.
Is it really true that you enjoy working on it? Sometimes open source projects can end up being not so fun to work on.
Yeah, I think I've been fortunate enough that there's a few contributors who not only do quality work, but also are actually nice people to work with. So yeah, it's been a pleasant experience.
Has your experience been pleasant, Viktor? Never mind.
With what? With live universe and everything, right?
Open source projects.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. It really there is a bit of everything. Sometimes I started a couple of projects and contributed in a few others. And initially, usually it's to me it was nicest when in my projects when I was the only contributor, because then I do whatever I want. And then it's wonderful when people jump in and you see that kind of people are adopting a project and people are contributing, and that's beautiful, right? And then this is my experience, right? It does not necessarily need to match other people's experience. And then if a project grows, let's say hundreds of contributors, then usually starts getting a bit more complicated because, especially if you're the person who started the project, then you might have strong opinions and then not getting used to strong opinions of others and sometimes complications and clashes. But it's all good usually because, you want to fight with people over what is a better way to do stuff or whatever, as long as it doesn't end up being a silly conversations, kind of like, I don't like that you use tabs instead of spaces for indenting your code and things like that, right?
Tabs and spaces are not a silly thing. That's great religious wars, but that's not why we're here today.
Yeah,
sorry,
of course.
I sent us down a bad path.
It's a silly discussion because it should be always spaces, period.
Always. Okay, we're in, most of the time we're in agreement, but we're in true agreement there.
Sound like an Emacs person there.
Huh?
Emacs.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Okay,
Exactly.
Yeah, let's not go there. So the other thing that right now, Miko is working on a book that's covering chaos, and I'm assuming it's focusing primarily on PowerfulSeal. Is that correct?
No, that's not actually the case. So currently, if you're just starting with chaos engineering, there's a few good books that are available. There is enough theory, I think, to just get you started. There is your book about Kubernetes chaos engineering that I just started reading yesterday when I learned about it. And then there is a little bit of, just the implementation / administration / tool kind of zone, which I felt wasn't necessarily very well covered. So the book is actually focusing on giving you all the necessary tools, primarily for Linux, on different popular use cases that you might be actually working with when you're implementing your chaos engineering experiments. So it's kind of like, instead of going with a particular tool and just teaching you how to use that tool, Like there's a book from Russ who wrote it primarily about the chaos toolkit. I wanted to do something that kind of goes more to the first principles and gives you all the tools that you might need for rolling out your own. So that's the main focus.
Thank you. We'll send you the $5 for the book plugin after a while. Now, and you brought up Russ. So do you know Russ?
Yeah, I do. He's a great guy.
Oh boy, that was fairly short. Okay, well, no, we're joking, Russ. If you're listening, we're joking.
I have a question that I would like to hear your opinion, because I have a specific opinion. Kind of, what do you think is the state of? I mean, I think that we all agree that kind of on a from theory perspective, what is chaos engineering? I think that's well established. But from tooling perspective, how do you see the state, generally speaking, not any specific, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, it's still a little bit of a Wild West. So, you have the few popular tools that keep popping up. Like I mentioned, the Chaos Toolkit, everybody seems to know about that. And then you seem to have everybody who knows about Gremlin. They seem to be doing a really good job in communication. If you Google anything remotely to do with chaos engineering, you're likely going to land on one of their blog posts. And that's great. But I think, one of the bigger problems about that is that most people, if you ask them, they're still going to think that it's about, randomly smashing things in production. If you Google that, it's probably going to come up with something, breaking things in production on purpose. I think, going back to the tools, there's a few of them that are good for the use cases that they cover. There's the awesome chaos engineering list. I'm sure you're aware of that. Has a pretty up-to-date list of tools. Some of them are dead. Some of them are doing pretty good. There's this PowerfulSeal that you should try out. Overall, I think that most of them are still on the kind of stage one. They give you the ability to kind of introduce the failure, and they kind of leave the validation and verification part of it up to you. And I think that's probably where most of the value in the coming years is going to come from actually, going past that first stage of introducing the failure, which is, not that complicated, and producing the value from the automated or half-automated verification of the SLOs and your assumptions. So that's really what I think.
That's kind of similar how I see it. I think that most of the tools are tackling the easy part, kind of like how to change something, not to say destroy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not even sure where I would start from validation perspective, right? Yeah. Because, I see it easy, kind of, okay, let's destroy this pod and see whether the pod is recreated, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But kind of theoretically, something completely random somewhere else can be happening as a result of you performing some actions. And I'm just thinking out loud, I wouldn't even know where to start, how to validate, because ultimately it's about the effect on the whole system, right? Or maybe I'm wrong in my kind of guesses, right?
Yeah, I think that's true, that the real challenge is in kind of extracting that value from knowing how that corresponds to what your expectations are. Yeah, so most of the tools will be still on the easy part right now, I think.
That's also normal. You always start with easy.
Yeah, definitely.
At least I do.
Yeah.
Walk us through, if you're starting with PowerfulSeal, what is the hello world?
Well, the hello world would probably be around 10 lines of YAML that would probably pick some random pod, well, when I say random, probably not random. You'd probably take something like a deployment that's being covered by a service, and then you would select one of the pods. You would tell PowerfulSeal to kill it, and then you would verify that your service responds to some kind of HTTP probe within a given parameter or parameters. That's actually what I've been putting on the README not that long ago as a hello word. Then you take it from there. Like you mentioned, there's a few examples that we can give there, but then at the end of the day, it really depends on the application, its characteristics, and that's where the value comes from.
What made you want to write PowerfulSeal? When did it start?
So that's an interesting story. So that would be back in 2016. I ended up working on this new platform based off Kubernetes. And that was fresh off the shelf, version 1.2. I'm always going to remember that. We did the evaluation against some other options, and we decided that that's probably worth, give it a proper shot. And then through some interesting personnel reshuffles, I ended up actually leading that platform. And I started having little nightmares about how do I actually verify that something with so many moving parts that I just met and starting to use right now is going to be working the way I expect it to. And the answer to that, what we started doing in our team was just automating little experiments, saying, okay, so if, for example, I restart my kubelet, what happens to the pods that were running on that pod, on that node, etc., etc. And because of the fact that at the time there wasn't really like a well-defined path to setting up all these moving parts, you were getting all these binaries, and there were some options of how to set it up, but at the end of the day, you had to know what you were doing in order to set it up in a way that's resilient. So we started writing more and more of these scripts, and then I turned it into PowerfulSeal. Then later on, we made open source, and the rest is history, really.
So the project is about 3.5, 4 years old? Maybe not from the official project, but back to its backstory.
Yeah, that's about that. Yeah,
that's actually very, very impressive. That's kind of like, that would mean when you started basically at the very, very early in a life cycle of Kubernetes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of lucky. It was a kind of greenfield project, and we were able to pick what we needed. We're building a microservices platform, so something like Kubernetes was essentially exactly what we needed to make it work. There was another funny coincidence. There was a conference, the KubeCon in London, that was literally next door. I ended up just seeing it when I was going to work, and that's how we ended up going there and meeting some folks, and we felt like, it had future. And then turns out that, yes, it did. So that's how it started.
So like you said, you started, now correct me if I'm wrong, you said that you started with Kubernetes 1.2?
Yeah, that's the first version that we're kicking the tires of.
So in 2016, why did you make the decision for Kubernetes over Mesos? I went there. Sorry, I went there.
Yeah, so
because I wouldn't have, not in 2016.
I think that one of the reasons was that we saw how many people were actually getting invested in that at the time, and we also liked basically the API that it was exposing. The entire idea, the abstractions, the pods, deployments, and stuff like that. It felt right, and we did, this massive Excel with pros and cons, and we just decided to give Kubernetes a shot as the first, approach. Played out well.
You didn't break out a D20. You broke out an Excel spreadsheet to make the decision. For people who don't know what a D20 is, go Google it. PowerfulSeal, 4 years old, roughly, 3 years, whatever. Focus purely on Kubernetes. Is that true?
It works with VMs as well, right?
Yeah, so the primary focus is on Kubernetes, but it also has the drivers for various clouds. It has the Google Cloud, AWS, OpenStack. We started with Azure. We started with OpenStack because that's what we're building on. And the idea was basically to be able to just take the VMs up and down to simulate the going down. So it kind of works on two levels. You work on the Kubernetes abstractions, the Kubernetes type of items, and then you can also do things on the nodes themselves. And also you can do things over SSH if you wish so. So, one of the reasons why we did that was because we wanted to just not give Kubernetes any head start when we're deleting a pod. So instead of just asking the Kube API server to delete a pod, you can get PowerfulSeal to issue an SSH command that's going to go on a particular node and then just do a Docker kill so that it simulates a crash a little bit better. So that was useful at the beginning when we were really not sure that the entire Kubernetes thing would work out. And we wanted to make sure that it really recovers from this kind of thing.
It's 2020. Where do you see Kubernetes in 5 years? And where do you see PowerfulSeal in that ecosystem in 5 years?
Okay, so
It's easy, right? It's easy. Okay. Hey, let me make it a lot easier. 1 year.
1 year.
Where do you see it? Where do you see it this time next year? Where do you see Kubernetes, and where do you see PowerfulSeal?
Honestly, 1 year from now, I expect that Kubernetes is not going anywhere. If anything, it seems to be still on the upward trajectory. It's de facto becoming the API for scheduling things. Pretty much every cloud provider now has also dedicated Kubernetes offering. I don't know what you think, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon from what I see. In terms of PowerfulSeal, I think that we've kind of gone through the phase of just a little bit of chaos engineering here and a little bit of chaos engineering there. Over the time, we've added features. We've done a little bit of an overhaul recently to actually, add the documentation. So that's new. It's shiny. It has buttons and hyperlinks. I think like the biggest missing bit right now, and that's kind of, I'm ashamed to admit that, is that we're using other tools for injecting things like latency and stuff. So it would be nice to actually integrate that directly into PowerfulSeal so that you don't have to hack around to get that. In a year from now, I would like it to cover all the networking stuff and hopefully become a bit more popular too. Do you think Kubernetes is going anywhere in a year's time?
Oh no, Kubernetes is not going anywhere in 20 years' time. And not because there will be nothing better, there will be, but because the level of investment companies are making, like you mentioned, cloud providers, right? But basically that's everybody. It's going to be there. We're going to be talking about Kubernetes, I don't know, 20 years from now, 30 years from now as, okay, like modern mainframe, right? Kind of like, okay, we have cool stuff now, much better than Kubernetes, but we have so much investment. Exactly.
We're still stuck with a stupid Kubernetes thing. Just like I was saying, we're still stuck with a stupid mainframe thing.
Exactly. I think that will be my parting words when I retire. I don't know when I'm going to retire, 15 years from now, 20, whatever, right? Kind of, finally, I can retire and go on a vacation, live on an island and not watch Kubernetes anymore.
Well, that's what you think. Your phone might be running Kubernetes by then, so you might not be able to escape that.
Exactly. That's true.
Yeah. But if it's an Apple device, you can't log into it, so it won't matter anyway.
To me, what is interesting about really Kubernetes is that the way I don't think that we had on that level before, the way how mostly through its API enables us to do cool things that we couldn't do before, right? And I'm not now referring really to scheduling containers and the whole scheduler story and containers and all this stuff. But, what we're seeing, to begin with, with chaos engineering tools, how much easier it is actually to do stuff than it would be before. But that equally applies to the way how we do logging today, how we do metrics collection and monitoring and networking. I mean, a lot of things I see it as an enabler of good things rather than being amazing in itself. And that is what actually drives that investment. It's not only about, investment in AWS, investing a lot of money to create AKS, but everybody else investing money to actually build on top of it.
That's very true. And that's a very good point. But there's a dark side to that too, that, now when you try to debug something, you need to know how to debug your overlay network. You need to know how logs look like from Calico or Flanner, whatever you're using. It's, the learning curve from the kind of, I want to understand what just went wrong is also pretty steep. So,
Like a couple of years ago, the first time I heard the word CRD, I was like, yes, this is amazing. Now when I when somebody says CRD, I close my ears and play la 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 la. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't know what's going on.
Take your dirty CRD from me. That's what's happening.
So explain why, Viktor, CRD is a dirty term to you now.
I mean, it's amazing and dirty at the same time. It's amazing because the level of what you can accomplish through CRD, basically by extending Kubernetes, is amazing, right? Like, I don't know, like Tekton wouldn't be possible without CRDs, and Knative would be an Istio, and so on. I mean, it's not that it wouldn't be possible, but it would be much harder. But that level of extension also creates the problems that Miko was mentioning, kind of, yes, but now I don't know what's going on. I have a problem, and I don't know where to look anymore. Kind of, all I know it's not a pod. What is it? I have no idea. It could be networking. It could be one of the 57 CRDs of Istio, or maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's something completely different. Who knows? We're going to find out one day, unless we go bankrupt, and then we don't.
Yeah, I laughed pretty hard when I saw that Istio was turning into a monolith now. That's kind of like a sign of all of that.
But that's also kind of, to me that's I was very surprised when I heard that, but not by the news that they're going to monolith, but how our perception of what is a monolith changes, right? Kind of like a few years ago, today's version of Istio, everybody would be considered more microservice still, right? Because it's not really monolith by any standards we had until recently. But yeah, now it's going monolith. It was fragmented too much. It was nano services, and now it's actually microservice, but we cannot call it like that. It's a monolith.
Boy, that ended up in a really bad place. CRD to Istio monolith, but that's what it is. So Miko's got a book coming out. He's working on it right now. In fact, it's from Manning Publications. It is called Chaos Engineering: Crash Test Your Applications. You can order it on MEAP now, MEAP. That is whatever that short acronym. Manning, if you're listening to this, I ask for forgiveness now because I should know it. I've bought them before. But you can order it right now. The link to the book is in the show notes. But wait, there's more. Also, we have a discount code that you can use to get 40% off. That discount code is PodParadox, the number 2 and the number 0.
Okay, look, nobody's going to remember that. Put it in notes. You put in copy and paste. More than 3 characters is not rememberable anymore.
It's okay. That's also in the notes right below where the link to the book is. Finally, if you've gotten this far, hang on a little bit further. So if you're listening right now via Apple Podcast, please subscribe, leave a rating and review. All of our contact information, including Twitter and LinkedIn, can be found at devopsparadox.com /contact. And if you'd like to be notified by email when a new episode's released, you can sign up at devopsparadox.com. The sign-up form is at the top of every page. And there are links to the Slack workspace, the Voxer account, and how to leave a review in the description of this episode. Now, if you've listened this far, we have 5 codes to where you can get the book for free. Yes, I said free. This is Miko's book for free. In order to get one of those 5 codes, you must join the Slack workspace, and there is going to be a link right underneath the show notes where it says use the discount code. There will be one more link there. Follow that link. Go to the podcast channel in the Slack workspace and type in the picture in Viktor's office that's on the bottom right-hand corner. We only have 5 codes. You're laughing. I'm trying to make it up. I'm trying to make people join in the Slack workspace a little bit. Come on.
I'll let you know later what I'm laughing. It's not what you think.
You always laugh at me. It doesn't matter. There will be a picture. There will be a link to the link will say Viktor's picture. In fact, you know what? Since we're recording this, I better write that down because I will forget it. So Viktor's picture. So go look in the show notes, Viktor's picture. Click on that. Type in it's a face. So type in the name of the person's face in the bottom right-hand corner.
Okay, you need to write those instructions down. I got lost at the very beginning.
No. So that's the thing is they have to listen to this and understand the thing.
So it's like my daughter doing homework. I always tell her, you need to listen to, because now it's remote, they do everything remote. You need to listen to it 3 times so that you're really certain that you understood.
So if you still don't understand, go back and just hit rewind for like 2 clicks and that should get you there. So again, Miko's book titled Chaos Engineering. My mouse just died. That's no good. That's chaos right there. My mouse dying. Actually, it probably didn't die. I just lost it. There it is. That's the problem with having 3 screens. Chaos Engineering, crash test your applications. You can order the Early Access Program. That's what it is. Manning Early Access Program. Manning, if you're listening to this, I remembered. Manning Early Access Program for Chaos Engineering, crash test your applications by Miko. I'm not going to try your last name. If you want to get it for free, follow the instructions. Go back and listen to them again because I don't remember what I said. Miko, hopefully you had a good time today. Thanks for hanging out.
It was a pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
You'll have to come back when you get your book done. It's always interesting to talk to other authors to where you're still in the heavy writing phase, correct? Is that true or not true?
Sorry, you kind of froze there for a second.
So you're still in the heavy writing phase of the book, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm about 2/3 in right now, and I left myself the Kubernetes chapter for the very end.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Are you waiting for Kubernetes to mature, or to see whether it will stay?
Yeah, I think I had it scheduled just after a chapter on Docker, and after explaining Docker and how to break it, I kind of needed a holiday, I guess. So I took a little break. But yeah, I'm still very much into that. It's not, doing the final polishes yet.
After creating books and courses, we totally get it. It's never ending. And it usually ends up not exactly where you thought it was going to be when you started day one.
Oh, yeah.
Is this your first book? Right? This
is
it
is.
You're writing. Okay, yeah. We need to have a session when you finish because I will have a very important question to ask. I
Sure.
can tell you the question now. You think about it until you finish the book. Will you ever write the book again?
Yeah, ask me that in a couple of months. Right now, I don't think I would say yes to that. It's every time I try to estimate how much something will take, I just need to like double that estimate, and it's still not enough. But it's fun. I mean, that's probably like the best way to properly learn things. Yeah.
It's amazing. This is, I've been saying that all the time, and this is the first time I hear from somebody else. Kind of like writing a book is an amazing way to actually go deep into something yourself. At least that's my
Yeah, it's like
theory.
this quote that's been attributed to pretty much every known scientist that, if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough. And, when you're actually putting it on paper, you realize that, oh, look, that's a gaping hole. I should do something about that. So yeah, it's been very humbling, this experience. And, about halfway through, I really didn't think I would actually finish that, but it's coming up. I saw the book you wrote on Kubernetes chaos engineering. I only scanned through that. It's also pretty recent, right?
Yeah, I think that I officially finished it. We officially finished it. What was it? Like a couple of months ago, something like that.
The chaos one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Miko, is that the one you were talking about? The chaos?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was done in. Was that the last one we just did?
I think so. I have no idea.
How many books have you written?
Well, okay, so right now this year alone, we've had Canary, we have Chaos, and we've got the catalog.
I have a special formula, and I think that Darin is not happy with it. When I heard you saying I need to polish it, and I don't know what, I just write it down. Done. Do something else.
and that's the joys. And Manning, please forgive us. That's the joys of self-publishing versus going through a publisher. Nothing personal, but
then Darin comes and makes a pull request and says every third word in that book is misspelled. Something like that.
You've gotten better. You started using better tools, so it's only every fifth word now. Okay, Miko, thanks again.
Oh, thank you.
And if you've yeah, man, thanks. And like I said, we'll get you back once the book is done. Go ahead.
Why don't we do some live session and show us PowerfulSeal?
That would be great. Would you be willing to come on live with us on a Friday? Not this week, but we'll wait until this episode comes out. If you're listening to this today when it comes out, today is actually June 24th, which would be June 24th. It's a Wednesday. So maybe June 26th, which I believe is a Friday. It should be, because if the math's right. Well, we'll talk about it. Yeah. Maybe you'll come on live with us and show us PowerfulSeal live.
Sure.
You're willing to do it without a rope? Without a safety harness?
Well, I can try. Is that like production? The Twitch thing?
No, we do it on YouTube, but yeah.
Yeah, I can do it on production, as long as it's yours production.
Darin is going to find one of the clusters of his customers. He's not going to tell them anything, and he's going to let you do a live demo on them.
That's
and then he's going to ask the customers to guess which one was selected.
Yeah.
No, that's not what's going to happen, but close. All right. Thanks again for listening to episode number 61 of DevOps Paradox.